you're more prone to developing cancer at that age.
Yeah. And if we do the growth of cancer, we start figuring out the 3 ways that it spreads, which we talk about. The first way that it spreads is we basically talked about the damaged DNA. The DNA has coded information, and somewhere down the line, the cell gets damaged. It could be anything from diet, lifestyle, blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
I've heard it even happens in vegetable oils. And what happens is the cells start mutating, they mutate, they grow rapidly, and there's a different pre-wired plan that the wired plan of the DNA technically had for the cell. That's the one way. Then we also have hormones, and we have different chemicals. We talked about progesterone and estrogen, and sometimes they're naturally occurring in the body, and sometimes there's imbalances. We covered it in the podcast episode where estrogen is linked to like the chemicals that girls use for makeup, and that could be one thing. And what happens is it could activate that HER2 gene, is what we call it, and that cancer could be hormonally stimulated instead of the DNA stimulated.
Yeah, the HER2 cancer is actually one of the most aggressive cancers that they could get. So it's pretty scary.
Is it more prevalent? You said it's more.
It's one of the more aggressive ones.
I see. Yeah. I did not know that. And then we have lymph nodes. So the lymph nodes are blood vessels, technically in a different form, right? They carry interstitial fluids, and they're basically like the highway system of the body that carries white blood cells, carries different. What else does it? The lymph node carry?
So you could think of your lymph system as like your circulatory system, but for like white blood cells, I know they also carry amino acids, and they carry extra not interstitial, but extrastitial fluid. They maintain the fluid balance of your body as well as your WBCs.
And they transport those fighting cells. And that's one way where the tumor, because right by the armpit is where all your nodules are for the breast, sometimes that carcinoma could infiltrate the lymph nodes, and that's where we start getting a problem where we test the lymph nodes as well to see whether the cancer is spreading somewhere in the body.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, it's scary because like Matt said, you have a lot of lymph nodes around your breast area and your armpit area, and that's the direct highway from your breast. And once the cancer cells infiltrate your lymph system, they could go wherever they want.
And a lot of people think that breast cancer is more gene, like your family's predisposed to breast cancer and you're going to get it. But according to what we did, the research shows that only, is it 10%?
Yeah, 5 to 10%.
5 to 10% of breast cancer is actual genetic.
Yeah.
Most of it is from environmental, smoking, drinking, all those little sedentary lifestyles, lack of activity, and then of course maybe being overweight. So environment has a greater role on the genes because genes upregulate. Sometimes they turn on and off constantly based on what we're doing, guys. That's why we say that genetics are so important. But do you think in medicine things are kind of being pushed away from genetics, and now we're seeing that it's more environmental?
Well, I think that we're seeing that more things are environmental, but I also see that a lot of our research is done on gene therapy. So like you said, only 5 to 10% of breast cancers are directly related to genes. So they're hereditary, but the other 90% are related to your environment, your lifestyle. But still, you can have genes that show that you're more prone to cancer, and you might never get cancer. So I think it's still very important for us to look at our genetic makeup just so we can find those genes, so we can label them and show who's more at risk. Because if someone's gene shows that they're more at risk for breast cancer, that's going to be that is going to be a reason for them to change their lifestyle up.
Yeah, or you'll have more tests more frequently, more earlier to prevent this, you getting into a later stage of breast cancer, and you won't be able to save your breasts.
Yeah, exactly. Because only 5-10% of cancers are directly related to your genes. But that doesn't mean that even though you don't have cancer, you don't have cancer genes, you could say. So it's still crazy to think about because, I don't know, it's really complicated stuff. The fact that you could have genes that make you more prone to cancer, but you might never develop cancer. And you might have a poor lifestyle, and that's what switches the gene on.
Genes, yeah.
And that's the kind of scary part. So I feel like we should totally push genetic labeling or marking, or just figure out what genes cause what, just so we know who's more predisposed to cancer. Because that's going to change people's life. Like if someone tested my blood as an infant and said, hey, you have the gene that can express prostate cancer, I would be eating like a diet that's, that's anti-prostate cancer. Or if I was
Some
told
pumpkin seed
yeah, or
supplement.
what have I got to do? If someone told me that my genes are showing me that I'm at risk for this, this, and this, then you bet your ass I'm gonna make sure I don't get that by changing my lifestyle.
And I think as this technology is getting cheaper to study genes, it's only going to become more prevalent. And just like these websites like Ancestry, they're basically taking your DNA code and they're learning about it. And eventually there's going to be a giant database they could research this, just like Google.
Exactly.
I'm sure that's already being created.
Right. Yeah. It's crazy. The more data they gather, the more accurate it is. Because like let's say, we know how you have the A, B, or it's C and G DNA sequences. So if someone has an ABC sequence and they're getting breast cancer more, then guess what? The ABC gene is going to be the expression for breast cancer.
Yeah.
So it's all based on data. The more data that they collect, the more people that they see, the more data that they harvest off genes, the more accurate it's going to be, and the more they're going to be able to tell what actually causes what.
Yeah, it's not to get off topic, but it's just like a Tesla car. The more that artificial intelligent car is driving on the road, the more it's analyzing what's happening, when to brake, when to turn, when there's danger, and it's getting smarter. So as these cars are out on the market longer, they're actually getting safer and, getting smarter.
Yeah, genetic testing is going to be almost like testing your blood for diabetes. Like if you're pre-diabetic, you're more likely going to change your lifestyle compared to like when you're pre-cancerous, you're going to change your lifestyle as well.